Welcome back, fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. Some new news today. Nothing crazy. It's nothing crazy, but some things. But before we get to Devils news, real quickly, I just wanted to share this for those that may not have seen. Panthers say Luosterainen out after, in quotes, barbecuing mishap. Out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers are now dealing with even more injuries, including one sustained in a grilling accident. And Coach Paul Maurice, when looking at the big picture, is seeing all of this as a way for the champs to get even better. Florida Luosterainen will be listed as week to week, Maurice said Wednesday, after what the coach described a barbecuing mishap. But the already shorthanded Panthers don't seem to have a concrete timeline in mind for Luosterainen's return. We don't have a lot of experience with this, Maurice said. When he comes back and feels comfortable with the equipment on, away we go. And so I just thought this was pretty funny, obviously, coming off of, and I'm super unfortunate for the Panthers who have their myriad of injuries to deal with as well. Like the Devils, they have tons of guys out, including big-name guys, obviously. Coming off the heels of the Jack Hughes knife gate, the Chicago cut incident, if you will, a barbecuing mishap. I mean, and as I've said before, guys, hockey players are just humans like the rest of us. Unfortunately, once in a while, weird shit will happen. And obviously, we saw it with Jack. We'll never know the real story. It is what it is. Hopefully, he returns at that 8-week mark or so like they have predicted. But here we have it a week later. A Panthers player is out with a barbecuing mishap, and weird stuff is happening, guys. It's not just the Devils. It doesn't make me feel any better, to be honest. But at least now there's another team who could get made fun of along with the Devils, because it did seem like the online world, hockey world anyway, was surely having some good laughs at the Devils' expense. And that Chicago cut photo is ridiculous. I mean, what foreshadowing. But yeah, Panthers, Luosterainen out with a barbecuing mishap. And it's not just the Devils that have these fluke off the ice injuries. Panthers have one too. But okay, so back to Devils now. We see from Sam Kassan. By the way, if you don't follow him, definitely follow him. Oh boy, long day, folks. Follow him on X. Wow. Follow him on X. He's been putting out a lot of good stuff recently. I don't know if they're working him in a little bit more, or if Amanda's on vacation or something. I'm not sure, but he's been popping up a little bit more in the past couple days in Florida with the team. And he tweeted out, Hamilton had a maintenance day. He will play tomorrow versus Florida. Markstrom tweaked something late in last night's game. He will back up tomorrow, and club is monitoring him, per New Jersey Devils head coach Sheldon Keefe. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And then they put out the video where Sam was interviewing them, and then he has this article synopsis. This is on the Devils website, so definitely check out Sam's stuff on there. Practice info. The Devils were missing defenseman Dougie Hamilton and goaltender Jacob Markstrom at practice. Neither situation is considered an issue. Keefe on Hamilton, just maintenance for him, part of his return to play program. Playing last night, he'll skate tomorrow morning and be good to play, just part of his return to play. Keep on Markstrom, right at the very end of the game, he has something we're monitoring. We're going to give him some time. He's fine. He'll back up Jake tomorrow. We're just going to reduce his time on ice the next couple of days to make sure that settles down okay, and it's nothing. So I guess multiple parts to this thing, obviously. We'll start at the beginning. With Dougie Hamilton, it's just like pretty much he's probably still a little nicked up. Getting back to game speed, they're like, we're not going to waste this man's energy at practice, and he's going to play the games, which is perfectly fine. You guys know I am a huge Dougie guy. I do think Dougie firmly should be the power play one quarterback. I hope within the next couple of games we see him assume that role and kind of run with it. Obviously, the power play without Jack Hughes is not nearly the same potency as it is with Jack Hughes, and we're going to have some guys pick up the slack, but hopefully Dougie's a big part of that. I've maintained from even before the season to the naysayers, all the folks that were like, trade Dougie, we don't need him, and all this nonsense. This team is a lot better with Dougie than without, and especially now with all the other injuries, and more specifically Jack. You want all the offensive firepower you could get, and Dougie Hamilton certainly brings it, as he does on the power play, and I want him on power play one. We'll keep an eye on that situation, but Dougie should be fine. Hopefully we don't get any re-aggravations of this injury, and he looks good in Florida tomorrow. And now the bigger part on Markstrom. He says right at the very end of the game, he has something we're monitoring. Now I'm curious, is he referring Is he referring to the Lightning game, or is he referring to the Blackhawks game? Because I believe all of us witnessed at the end of that Blackhawks game, late in the third period, Markey went down and did a little stretch or whatever, and he certainly was laboring afterwards. It was very obvious that he was nursing something. And given what we're seeing here, not at practice, I think he's injured, guys. I think he's still injured, and that's not to make excuses for Markey. And I've said, from the beginning, obviously a rough start. I am not going to condemn a guy this early on in the season and make some of the statements that some of you wackos have made in recent weeks regarding Jacob Markstrom. You guys know I am a Markey guy. Love Markey. I wanted him badly when the rumors first came up during the 23-24 season. We did not get him at that time, obviously, and then we finally got him in the offseason. I was pumped. You guys know, well-documented, love Markey. With that being said, I also love the New Jersey Devils, and it's always about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. And I think at this point, it's pretty clear that Markey is hurt. He was hurt at the end of that Chicago game. And whatever it was that he injured clearly affected him last night in a pretty bad performance for him, in concert with a bad performance of the rest of the team. Now, again, I'm not making excuses for Markey, but I'm also not going to bury him for last night's loss. That loss was on the team. He had a bad game. Pretty much the whole team had a bad game. And so no matter what, we were going to lose that game, in my opinion. Hard to win games in the NHL when you only score one goal. With all of that being said, they got to shut Markey down. I just don't see any other way. Sometimes you got to make the hard decision. You got to shut Markey down. Let him properly heal. Bring up Nico Daws, assuming the waiver situation is very complicated, as well as some of the cap stuff now. It's like you need to be a data scientist to figure this shit out with the cap and their accruing cap with all these guys out and who's on LTIR and who's not and the percentage you have at the end. It's all crazy. I can't keep track of the cap stuff. I don't even know if the websites are being properly updated. And I certainly would be curious to know who handles this stuff internally for the league to know how much cap space these teams have, because with guys coming on and off LTIR, accruing, not accruing, it's all crazy. But the waiver situation, I'm not positive on in regards to Nico Daws. I think in an emergency scenario, he maybe doesn't have to go through waivers again. Assuming he does not have to go through waivers if he gets called up for a bit of time, you got to shut Markey down and bring Nico Daws up, in my opinion, because he's clearly hurt. And sometimes you got to save guys from themselves. Jacob Markstrom is a fiery competitor. He wants to play every game. He wants to win. He loves playing. And I think especially after, a performance like that, he's dying to get back out there and kind of erase that from his memory, and I guess to some extent everyone else's memory. But he's not doing himself or the team any favors by continuing to play through injury, in my opinion. Now, there's some other guy, Nico might be nicked up right now. There's tons of guys league-wide that are always playing through something a little bit different than a goaltender. And it is concerning. And again, not to bash the guy, I absolutely love Markey. But sometimes you got to save these guys from themselves. I think they got to shut him down. I just don't see why you wouldn't. Why? He's not at 100%. He may risk further damage to himself. He could cost the team a game. Now, I'm not saying last night he did. Again, I'm on the exact opposite of that. The team sucked. And he wasn't great either. So we lost as a team there. But there could be a game where the team does play well enough to win in front of him, and with a bad outing could cost the team a game and cost us points. And so I am firmly on you got to shut him down, in my opinion. He's clearly compromised. He's hurt. Don't risk further injury. Don't risk, valuable points in the standings. Make him properly heal and, reassess from there. I do think, again, assuming the waivers thing, very complex. I can't keep track of it anymore. But if Daws does not have to clear waivers to go back down when we're done with him, I 100% bring him up, get him a start or two in this next week or whatever it is. And he showed he's capable of winning us games. He had a great game against Minnesota at the Rock. I'm fully confident in him, and I believe he could play one of the back-to-backs, give Jake Allen a rest, and really let Markey rest up and come back at 100%, because playing at less than 100% is not doing himself or the team any favors, and we'll see what happens. And that leads me to my next point, because it's all intertwined. For all the people bashing Fitz and Markey, I've seen some vile stuff. on the World Wide Webs, in regards to Markey and or the contract in the past couple days. Cheers to all of you. Tonight, I was too lazy to go get my iced coffee, so I'm back to my roots. I hope my mother's not watching this. She's probably not, but she's, I used to have a habit of these. Now it's like once a financial quarter, maybe 4 times a year, I'll pop the monster. But, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. People constantly harping on the contract and this and that. You cannot judge a 2-year contract 2 weeks after it's signed. You simply cannot. And I understand for those of you that want to be negative, and as soon as it looks like your narrative is proving correct, you're like, yeah, I said Markstrom sucked beforehand and he still sucks. Should have never signed that contract. Nah. For all those people, like, you're just miserable. Give it a rest. It's been 2 weeks now. Will I say I'm slightly concerned? Sure. But I do think he has been playing through injury, which he shouldn't have been doing. But, he's a competitor and wants to play. But again, you got to save guys from themselves. Shut them down. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think the injury or nagging injury has a lot to do with it. So you certainly cannot and should not judge a 2-year deal after 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, it's insane. Yeah, has the start been rocky? Absolutely. I think the numbers prove that. I think when you watch the games, you would recognize that in most games. Obviously, that LA game was phenomenal. He stole 2 points at 40 saves, whatever it was. Just stole 2 points. But it's been a rocky start. I will agree. However, that does not make the signing bad or the deal bad. There is a lot of time, 2 years minus 2 weeks left on the deal. So to judge it at this juncture of the contract is absurd. It's completely absurd. And now to the people that are like, why did he do it? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's kind of multifold, in my opinion. Now, I do think people underestimate what I will call the human element, if you will. Human element of some of these negotiations and kind of relationships, right? In a computer simulation, if somehow the NHL was, there was no human emotions involved and we're playing, and this is all played on a computer like many of the people, with their charts and stuff think that the game is. If it was some sort of simulation and there's no human emotions involved, given the data sample of the Markstrom starts over the past however long you want to use it, would you extend that guy at $6 million in this thing? No, I 100% agree you would not. However, this is not a computer simulation. You are dealing with human beings, and I think that plays a big part of it. And so, like I said a few weeks ago, I do think the team and Markey both kind of wanted to get this done and taken care of. And there's a good chance that I believe it was weighing on his mind, and the team may have thought the same. And so now when you get to this spot where you have Jake Allen locked up for $1.8 million, which is a phenomenal deal. Shout out to Jake Allen, one of the more team-friendly deals we'll see in quite some time, I believe. 1.8 times 5 years. And now they're like, okay, we need another guy. Again, keeping in mind, Fitz is slightly probably scarred to some extent from the goaltending woes over the past years and the criticism that he received. So how can I lock up this tandem that has proven to be a pretty decent win-now tandem, meaning this is not going to be the tandem to carry you into the future, but they are good enough to compete right now with the guys we have at a good total cap hit. And when you have a guy at 1.8, now you're like, we're almost playing with found money. Getting Markey at 6, assuming he returns to the old Markey, is a pretty decent deal, all things considered, with the cap going up, et cetera, et cetera. It is a calculated gamble. Every deal you give a guy is a calculated gamble. Not all deals are going to work out. Some will work out splendidly in your favor. Some will look absolutely atrocious. We all know some of those types of deals. And some will kind of be in the middle where it's like, maybe slightly under, slightly overachieved, but it's nothing catastrophic or major the other way, positive. And so that's the chance you take. Now, I hope it plays out to be a decent deal when all is said and done. And I think it very well could be. I just think he's hurt right now, got off to a slow start, and here we are. But I certainly am not going to judge a 2-year contract after 2 weeks. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. And so I hope we see him shut down. Let him get some rest. Let him come back. Jake Allen in net against the Panthers tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. But for all the people that are just constantly just bashing Markey, give it a rest. And then we go back to Sam here. Devils workflow at practice. Gritsu, Keisher, Bratt on the top line. Meyer, Mercer, Brown, Palat, Lamico, Dadanov, Cotter, Glendening, Nason. And then you see the D pairings, Siegs and Nemitz, Dylan Hughes, Chalowski, White, and then the extra pairing, LaChance and Edwards. Hopefully we see a much better performance by this team in Florida tomorrow, because that Lightning game was kind of ugly. All right, and now we get to the comments. Wilson says Markey is hurt again. He pulled something. Well, I mean, he was hurt from that Chicago game, in my opinion. Opie, if he was actually injured, I doubt he would be playing. Oh, Opie, are you new to watching sports, my friend? People are playing injured all the time. Alex, Markey should have been back up this entire season so far. We need to go full Allen. Well, it remains to be seen, but I'm always a fan of riding the hot hand. We'll see how it plays out. But Jake Allen back in the net tomorrow against the back-to-back defending Cup champs. Jesse says, at least it's not just us with the freak accidents. Nope, apparently barbecue accidents are happening. Barbecue accidents are happening. Mark says, Jack back in the lineup. Jack Daniels listed as active in my drink lineup. Nice. Nice. Opie says it should be Keefe plays Markey when Keefe wants to play Markey. I think there's other people probably involved too. It probably ultimately is Keefe's decision, but I think at this point he's clearly hurt. Just force him to really heal. Steven said, I've never met anyone in my life who got injured during dinner. You must not have any friends that drink, Steven, or at least drink heavily. I once pulled my hamstring playing fantasy football. Travelin says Markstrom is showing his age. Oh, you guys are brutal. Yo, Holmes, get the bubble wrap out for Markey. Jared, definitely worried about these Markey injuries. Seems like he may have something wrong with his legs, knees, hips, some sort of lower body injury. Yeah, there's something going on, but trying to play through it, I don't think is the solution. And so I'm sure, like I said, he's eager to get back out there, but sometimes you gotta save guys from themselves. And I think it's time to really heal. Fentanyl Markstrom seems to tweak something every game. Traveling, he may have fleeced the Devils. We will see. Yeah, again, keywords being we will see. It could play out that way, but it also could not. It is 2 weeks into a 2-year deal. Mario, he's getting older. I don't want to be mean, but being a goalie at this age takes its toll on you. It certainly does. I'm not going to try to argue that point. It certainly could be one of these scenarios where you're like, well, this is, old goalie things happening to an old goalie. I certainly hope it's not, but we're going to find out. John Woodson, Markey is injury prone. Let's extend him. This is the formula Fitz lives by as a GM. TJK, Markstrom phantom injury, had to come up with some way to get his off the ice, but yes, they got to shut him down. Man, you guys are oof. Tasha, popping in to say hello and popping back out. Let Markey heal, otherwise he's cooked. I mean, either way, he's not playing good currently. Pro Bowl says Markstrom shouldn't have been extended. Jared, Ace, I'm with you. I think they need to let Markey fully heal up and call up Dawes for the interim. I mean, I think that would be the sensible thing. Frank, we're 2 months into the season. There are 49 goalies in the NHL with better goals against than Markey, and 46 with a better save percentage. Calling him out on this doesn't make one a wacko, just being realistic. To judge a 2-year contract after 2 weeks doesn't make you a wacko, Frank. I understand the stats aren't good right now. What if he hits a stride where he plays really well and then, these numbers are no longer applicable? Then do you say, oh, I was wrong before for judging a 2-year contract after 2 weeks? What is the recourse if he rights the ship? I'm just so curious for all the people that are saying it's a bad deal after 2 weeks. Winnie, I personally think Markstrom came back too soon and got hurt again on the West Coast trip and just doesn't look comfortable. I hope they rest him until he's ready and bring up Dawes. Markey injured his hand while signing the contract extension. Mario, Jake is on fire. Let Markey rest and wait till he's 100%. And if hot streak cools down, then Markey can play again. Frank, I remember some guys, who judges the signing after one game versus LA. Wasn't that absurd also? Yeah, it was, Frank. It was. I I don't believe you're talking about me. I was obviously happy about it, but I didn't be like, this justifies the contract. No 1 game or 2 game, whatever it is, small sample size is going to determine whether a 2-year contract was good or not. Well, I think, it's way too soon. Way too soon. Furthermore, it's for the next 2 years. It's not including this year. So hypothetically, like, he could play like crap the rest of this year and then play really well the following year. And, this year really is technically not part of that deal. So I'm curious how people would look at that too. I mean, really what we're talking about here is next year and the season after. Jared says, for all the people bashing Fitz of the team, you should be thankful we have so much depth, especially defensemen and goalie prospects. That defensive depth obviously coming to use right now. We are completely decimated. Larry, what's up, Ace? You having a bad hair day? No, I'm cold. And I was just outside. You're making too much out of the Markey situation. Allen can get back-to-back starts and then see Markey. If he has another bad start, then he goes, I don't know what this says here. I mean, I'm just talking about it. I don't know that I'm making too much out of it, but, you're entitled to your opinion. Pro Bowl says Allen Dawes should have been the tandem from here on. I mean, listen, I think that would have been I think that would have been an okay tandem, but I think, Fitz feels more comfortable having 3 NHL-capable goaltenders. And if your tandem is Allen Dawes, if you're relying on Malik to be the third guy, unproven still, first season in the AHL, I think that would make him a little weary, because if you have Allen and Dawes and one of them go down, now you're talking about Malik being thrust from, a month or 2 in the AHL into a tandem NHL duty. That's not ideal either. Frank, guys need to step up with Jack out. Markey tops list of those guys. I think he will, but we can't wait forever. Must happen sooner than later. No, I agree with that. But, I think he needs to heal first. I think he's clearly been injured, and it's unfortunate. And, while you appreciate a guy wanting to play through an injury, in his position of a goaltender, I think sometimes you're better off, not playing as much as it may suck. And again, Markey, ultimate competitor, wants to play all the time. But I think, for the overall betterment of his health and his level of play and the team, that he should just voluntarily be like, let me heal properly so I could come back and prove all these people wrong. Tasha's leaving. Excellent. Pro Bowl forever. Dawes should be goalie number 2 instead of Allen. This season should have been the last for Markstrom. Wait, so do you mean Dawes should be goalie number 2 instead of Allen? So I think you meant, I guess this should have been I'm confused. You want an Allen Dawes tandem? Is that what you're saying? This should have been Dawes should be number 2 instead of Markstrom, or I don't know. I think it seems like you want a tandem of Allen and Dawes is what I make of that. Paha says if Devils let Dawes go, he'll definitely bloom somewhere like Akira Blackwood and Wedgwood. It's possible, and it is crazy to see the goalies that have come through here that have gone on to flourish elsewhere, and sometimes it's like that. I obviously was upset. You guys know how I am with Akira Schmid. Obviously, the only guy not named Martin Brodeur to win a playoff round in 30-some-odd years for the Devils. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Forever franchise legend, Akira Schmid. But I was crushed when we traded him. I thought he could have been the guy. I really did. And I mentioned before, I think things probably got somewhat contentious between him and the organization after he was kind of bounced up and down a bunch of times. He didn't seem happy about it. Maybe they mutually kind of agreed that it'd be best to move him and let him get a new start somewhere else. So again, I don't really know. This is just conjecture. But I do feel like he was mismanaged towards the end. I would have definitely given him more rope than the team did, given what he had accomplished in the playoffs. But, you know, Tosh says, personally, I think people are overstepping saying fire Fitz after this contract. First of all, he's a goalie. They are iffy and he's hurt. I don't see it on Fitz keeping a goalie he traded for and played decent last season. Fitz can't see the future. For people, it's just run-of-the-mill overreaction to a contract. It's 2 weeks. And again, the contract is technically next season and the season after. So I understand. Obviously, if he struggles this year, you're going to be like, oh, you could have waited. But, the team had their reasons. In a perfect world, would they have waited? Probably. But for whatever reason or reasons, they felt it was beneficial to do it sooner than later. And I understand why people are complaining about it. But it's done now. So what are you going to just keep talking about how it was a bad contract and then hope the guy does bad so you could say you were right? I mean, is that what we've come to in society? Samuel, every goalie goes through rough spots. Let him rest while you guys give it a rest. Pro Bowl, unless NJ gets in the playoffs and Markstrom suddenly pulls a 2011 Tim Thomas, extending him was a bad idea. What if he wins 2 playoff rounds? What would you say then? TJK, I do not think the complaint is it being a bad deal. It is more the fact that he has been this season and extends him during the struggles instead of waiting later on or after the season. I think at some point you guys have to realize, like I said before about the human element. I think, and again, this is just my opinion. I do think in scenarios like this, when you, I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say when you do right by a player, I think that could build up goodwill, not only with that player, but other players and players in the future, more so than people realize. Again, I'm not saying that it makes this a great deal or anything like that. I understand the people who question the timing of it. It certainly was interesting, right? Just the struggles and all this, and they have time to go out there and get it done at that time. But, there's kind of outside variables, in my opinion. And I think also with the negotiations, how they went previously with Luke not too long ago, that kind of dragged on much longer, I think, than the team and Luke's camp wanted. And Dawson the year before, obviously they are restricted free agents, a little bit different, but I think Fitz was like, screw it. I'm going to take this risk. I hope it pans out. Sign him up for 2 years. I don't have to worry about goaltending at all. And then continue to try to improve the roster however he can. 2 goalies at $7.8 million is pretty damn nice, but we'll see. The jury is not here yet. It's 2 weeks into a 2-year deal. Pro Bowl, I feel like Coleman would be a good center to acquire since Nashville will want too much for O'Reilly. Is Coleman? I don't think Coleman's playing center. Is he? He's a winger, but yeah. Coleman's not playing center. Dawes AHL stats. It's not easy to find AHL stats. But who even cares? Dawes' AHL stats last year were bad, and his NHL numbers were phenomenal. So it's hard for me to put stock into these things. I've talked about this before as well. I take it with a grain of salt because there's so many elements going on in AHL. Let's see, goalie. I'll pull up Nico Dawes' AHL numbers. Wait, what the hell is this? This is career? I don't want career. Hold on. All right, so let's see. All right, now I got this year. Yeah, AHL stats are not oh. Let me mute this. We'll take a look at these AHL stats, folks. All right, let's see what we got. So here we have it. Nico Dawes, 7 games played in Utica this season. 1 shutout, a goals against average of .252 with a record of 2-3-2, a save percentage of .907. For a team that struggled and been pretty bad, a .907 save percentage and .252 goals against is not bad at all. Malik has played 5 games, goals against much higher at 3.86, 0-4, 0-4-1, and a save percentage of .861. So in the small sample size, Dawes obviously doing much better than Malik at the moment. But this is his AHL stats. Well, I don't even want to. Well, I'll show both, I guess. Come on. Pulling up these. All right, now we look at Nico Dawes in the National. We look at Nico Dawes in the National. Obviously, only played that 1 game against the Wild this year. Incredible numbers, goals against of 1 and a save percentage of .968. But when we look at the small sample size from last season, a pretty defensively sound New Jersey Devils team in front of him. 6 games played, he was 3-1 with a goals against of 1.6 and a save percentage of .939 with the shutout. Pretty encouraging numbers. So I've maintained for a while now that I do have full confidence in Dawes. I do think he is capable of performing in that 1B role. And so I think it's time to, give him a start or two when Allen needs rest, or potentially Markey. But it seems like at the moment Markey needs to be the one resting up a little bit. What's going on? Ritter Engine. Samuel says, we all know Nico is a great 2-way player, but he needs to step up on offense even if his D suffers. Be careful what you wish for, but yeah, I mean, maybe he does have to cheat a little bit to generate. This team needs guys to step up and score goals. Obviously, goal scoring has sort of dried up as of late, and even more important now is going to be special teams. You're going to have to get the big kills when we need them in these games, and we're going to have to score some power play goals. Obviously, the power play looked absolutely tragic last night. Hoping to see that kind of turned around amongst many other things tomorrow against the Panthers, but we're going to find out. We shall find out. Jungle Static says it could be that Markey is injured, but it could be that his career is just coming to an end. Oh, God, I hope not. I hope that isn't the case, but still, it's a fair reason for concern. It isn't far-fetched. There's a difference, Jungle Static, between concern and the nonsense people are writing and calling it the worst deal ever and blah, blah, blah. Concern, totally different story. Concern is justified. Sure, I'm slightly concerned. Not horribly concerned. I'm slightly concerned. But to make the statements people are making is well beyond, way, way beyond concern. Alex says, could coaching be a reason for the goalies being better after they leave? I'm not buying it. I mean, people may make the argument. I'm not buying it. I just think a lot of it has to do with just guys developing when they're a little bit older in circumstance. Let's not pretend like these teams these guys are going to aren't good teams. Like Colorado's loaded, Vegas is loaded. Like these guys are ending up in sweet situations, and good for them. Swamp Fox, lots of peeps were down on Nemo too before last week. He's been bad so far this year, but let's see how it's going in a month or two. In the meantime, play Allen as the number 1, but his play suffers with overuse. And I think that's kind of what the analytics department is harping on, and so they're trying to manage his workload overall. But I think you could push him a little bit, see what he could give you, because right now he's our most solid option in net at the moment. Jungle, the NHL can just start telling us what is going on. I don't know what's up with the ambiguity. Player out with upper body brisket related injury. Yeah, they don't like to share. I mean, At this point, I don't even really care. Just tell us when Jack's going to be back. Hopefully sooner than later. Frank, the deeper we get into the season, the less the awesome 8-game win streak can mask the overall mediocre play. 5-5-1 outside of that streak, it's becoming the bigger sample size. I think this is a ridiculous take as well, Frank. I hate to say that, but the 8-game winning streak is a massive percentage of the 19-game season. I mean, great. You could pick apart 5-5-1 outside of the streak. Great. The streak was part of the record. So what does that really mean? That Florida, the West Coast trip was brutal. Let's play that. Why don't you take away the West Coast trip, and then what's the record? What's the record outside of the West Coast trip? So we can play that game both ways. Jesse, I have franchise legend Akira Schmidt on my fantasy team racking up the wins. Very nice. That was a very nice pickup for you at some point. Swamp Fox, Dawes' real discernible weakness was on the right side. Was on the side to side. He got beat a few times with wraparounds. I presume that could be fixed. You would think so. And again, he's still pretty young, 24 years old. So he's turning 25 in December. Still very young. How old's Blackwood now? Blackwood's got to be like shit. He's got to be old. Not old, but 27, 28, I would imagine. Yeah, Blackwood's 28, turning 29 next month. Yeah, careers go by so fast. It's crazy. Yo, Holmes, losing Blackwood was understood. Too many injuries and too much internal drama. Losing Wedge for nothing, on the other hand, a disaster move from Fitz. Jared, Yegorov, and Malik are the future. I agree with that. But I don't want to put on my future as bright glasses just yet. We have the future as bright glasses, but I want the right now is bright. Win now. Yeah, just being so injured sucks. It just sucks so bad. Jared, I do think when Markey is fully healed up, he'll bounce back for us, and Jake the Snake is playing great this year. Yeah. I agree. Hopefully he heals soon. The injuries are just crazy. It really is just such a shame year after year. Jack, even when the Devils look to make a rather large trade, what assets, meaning draft picks, prospects, and young guys, Mercer and Younger, are absolutely untouchable no matter what? I don't think the Devils are going to be making what you call a rather large trade anytime soon, in my opinion. But at this point, I certainly am not trading Nemitz. And I'm probably not trading Dawson Mercer either, unless it's like for some crazy blockbuster trade. But if you're talking about like the O'Reillys of the world and those kind of deals, like I'm not trading anything substantial. I'm not trading anything other than prospects and picks. I'm not giving up any roster players. We cannot afford to make a hole while trying to kind of patch up another one or improve in another area at the cost of hurting something else. So for me, I'm not looking to trade much in that department. Prospects are available. Draft picks are available. I'm not looking to give up any roster players whatsoever. Again, unless it's for something crazy big. But for these O'Reilly, Kadri type deals, no thank you. M. Sharp, Markey is good when he is controlled. It's almost like he gets too jacked up during games. Odd. Maybe he feels the need to do too much. Still not bad. I like our goalies. I just think that first injury kind of messed with him. Then he came back maybe too soon. He had that great game in LA. Then it looked like he was injured in Chicago. And then he played last night while probably injured. I think they just got to shut him down for his own good for a little bit. Just for a little bit and come back and look like Superman. That would be ideal. Woodson, Palat, Dougie, Timo, Luke, Markey, all overpayments by Fitz. I could accept one or two overpays. It happens, but Fitz paying players to return to their full potential is just gambling. Every single deal is gambling, my friend. It's all gambling. All of it. It's all gambling. Steven said, someone on the Devils subreddit contacted a witch on Etsy to remove the Devils' curse of injuries. Oh, boy. Yo Holmes says, Woodson, grow up. Tasha, the Caps climbing Woodson. It's not that big of a deal. Devil, what did everyone eat tonight? I actually ate Taylor ham and eggs. It's good. Pro Bowl, Tuck is probably going to command the same money as Kempe in the offseason. Yeah, and I've been saying that for a while, which is one of the main reasons why, while I would love him on the team, to pay a guy 10 or 11 million bucks after the season is not nearly as feasible or appetizing as it is getting one of these guys with at least a couple years left on their deal at a nice cap hit. To trade for a guy like that and then have to pay him monster money it's going to be difficult. The Devils have other guys they have to pay. Obviously, Grits and Nemitz are going to be two big ones this summer. Two very big ones. Wooden says the cap is climbing it. We won't have room to sign anyone the next 2 years. Don't want to hear everyone whining that Fitz doesn't make moves. I think eventually Dougie's going to be gone after this. I hope it's not before or after this season. If they trade him before the playoffs, I will be very, very upset. Woodson defensively sound before Christmas. After Christmas, our defense was bottom half of the league. After that holiday break, the team was pretty brutal, pretty much overall. What a bizarre thing that was last year. Larry, Fitzy is just a lousy GM. Even if you agree with the Markey contract, there's Pilots and a lot of blown assets with little return. Here's the thing that I don't like, right? Was the Pilat contract bad? Sure, it was. But at the time, he was trying to bring in a proven winner, or a guy who had a solid playoff resume and production. And so it's hard for me, as much as I've had my complaints about Fitz in the past, I'm never going to kill a guy for trying to do the right thing and it not panning out. And I use the Pilat contract as an example of this, and the Tyler Toffoli trade as well. That was a win now move. And at the time, some people went crazy. And then obviously when Sharon Govich played well in Calgary when he was on a contract year before it all just fell off a cliff for him, people were freaking out. Oh, Fitz this, Fitz that. That was a win now move. How are you going to kill a guy for trying to bring in a guy like Toffoli, a top six kind of sniper guy who worked pretty well with Jack? Win now move. Added to a team that won a playoff round the year before. I'm never going to go back and be like, oh, that was a bad trade. Like, some shit doesn't work out, guys. And that's okay, including contracts. You're going to have contracts that are big hits and you're going to have big whiffs. Pilat was a whiff, but it could have been worse. He's still, but despite not having the production, when you have Jack and Bratt probably maybe advocating to bring them back together, before he went down, obviously, there was times where they split them up and then you kind of saw them go back to Pilat because the line just kind of worked with him. So again, I certainly agree with a lot of the criticisms, but the Pilat contract is just not going to be one for me. It's not a good contract. And when you put it on the list of kind of crimes, sure. But at the time, I don't know that I would have paid him that much, maybe a little bit less. But you have to understand where his head was at. So you're not going to hit on every single deal. But if you're going to kind of put all these things down, that the Pilat one and all these other things, then you have to give him credit for the team-friendly deals, I think. I think that's only fair. So you have to say the Jack contract's great, the Bratter contract's great, the Nico contract's great. So you have to, take that into account as well. Now, whether that all means anything, if we don't win a cup with this core, then none of it meant a damn to begin with. But you'd like to hope at some point this group makes the push and they get one. People praise Markey for last year's playoffs performance. Forgot he allowed a goal in the first shot against in 2 games out of 5. Calgary fans say it's a signature move. Well, in the end, if he wins the game, I don't care about that. It's obviously not ideal, but if, let's just pretend a guy played 50 games, went 40-10, and he let a ton of first shot goals in, you wouldn't really care. It's more the end result. But I do remember reading that from Calgary fans, and it certainly is a kind of weird thing. But Markey was pretty solid in the playoffs. Do you not, with another goalie, we may have gotten crushed. Pro Bolt says Brodeur should be the next GM after Fitz. I mean, if he wants the job, I certainly would give it to him at that point. Stick thinks I can't even blame Utica for not doing too good. We're always needing to call up all of their guys. And that's also true. The AHL is a developmental league for the NHL. The Devils have been so injured, we just keep taking their guys. This year it was LeChance, Hallinan, Legari, Dawes for a couple days there. Edwards now. I mean, yeah, we're constantly just plucking from them. Matt Jones, crazy how many people have such negative loser mindsets in here. Welcome, Matt. Welcome to my pain. Provo says, watch the next GM be Chuck Fletcher. Oh, boy. Frank, I believe in Dawes, but would rather have Markey at his best. He'll get there. The athleticism is still there, but I say, again, it needs to happen soon. No, I agree with you, Frank, but the guy's banged up. He's just got to heal up, and let's see what he has when he comes back. If you take away the losses, we're undefeated, right? Yeah, that's a great point, Fenton. I'll take away the losses, we're undefeated. Jared, leave Nemo alone. The kid's been playing great late and starting to come into his own, not just offensive either, holding down on D. I'm a Nemo guy. Tasha, the centers, Cody and Jack, loss cannot be understated. I would rather have had Brown out than have had to lose Glass again. I would rather have nobody out. But that is not a luxury that this Devils club has, and so they march on. They march on, but I would like to see a center, obviously, as many of us would. I wanted a center, in the summer. I wanted a center for sure when Glass got hurt again, and then once Jack went down, it seemed like a necessity. And I'd imagine Fitz is at least putting out some feelers. Whether that materializes into something or not, we'll find out at some point this year. Does it happen closer to the deadline? I don't know. I think if the team is playing well and holding on to a good playoff standing, I can see Fitz trying to make a move, but it's going to come at the cost of something substantial having to leave. There is no money. There is no money. M Sharp Ace, you should get some Maui Jim rose lens glasses. Great to look at the world through. Nice. Tasha, I'm with you, Ace, especially not giving up roster players for 34-year-old Ryan O'Reilly. Yeah, I wouldn't want to give up roster players. I don't think we really have any to spare, to be honest. Pro Bowl Palat needs to be part of any trade package to get either Coleman or O'Reilly. You're going to have to add a lot to those, I believe, sir. I don't think Palat's really moving the needle. And not to mention, I think he blocks a trade to any bad team. For these bots, Buffalo Sabres fan not coming in peace. I've always hated the Devils and their redneck fans. This has happened before. I thought the other – I don't understand where these people come from. And they always say Sabres fan, but it was a different screen name last time. Maybe it's the same person with like 90 burners. I don't know. Cape Dollar says Coleman's not coming back. He's a Texas boy, and Calgary is the Texas of Canada. Jack, doesn't it seem like Allen is just so much calmer and more collected when he's in net? I know it's cliche to say, oh, so-and-so plays cool or whatever, but compared to Markstrom, it's night and day. Yeah, I mean, Markstrom's a little more erratic, I would say. He's moving around a little bit more. He does more. Allen is just kind of, I said it the other night. I said, I just feel more secure and calmer when I'm watching Allen in net. But when Markey's on, he's phenomenal. And hopefully he gets back there. I do believe he's been injured and trying to fight through it. And, credit to him for being a soldier, but I think it's time for him to really rest up and heal for good. Penny vodka, very nice. Jack Tuck wants to get paid. I heard this summer. There's some pretty big numbers floating around out there. Jared, Ace, I know this is a ways down the road, but are you doing the playoffs bracket contest again this year? That was fun. Yeah, for sure. I'll do that for as long as I'm around, probably. And let me check something here. They better come out flying tomorrow. Larry, in time, you're going to find out whatever Mercer can do, Gritsu can do it better. I'd be open on trading Mercer now for a need like center. I disagree, Larry. I certainly disagree. And even if he can, we need both of them right now. How does getting rid of Mercer, that doesn't help us. Tasha, Tage Thompson just needs to come to NJ. I think I'd actually scream. I just can't see it. I just can't see it. Jack, Tage Thompson has 6 years left at $7.14 million. Great contract, but that would cost you a top player. That would cost you way more than a top player, Jack. That would cost the farm. The farm. Jace, no, I don't mind the Toffoli move. I don't like never replacing that player, and the return sucked. Now, I was talking about the trade for Toffoli, not once we dealt him. I really did think we were going to get a first rounder for him. That made it sting a little bit even more. Like, you understood that he wanted too much money. We weren't going to pay him. So they were going to cash him in for whatever they could get at the deadline. And it was like a double sting. Like, we don't have Toffoli anymore. And we didn't even get the first rounder for him. It sucked, but it is what it is. Jason says everyone for Tage. Frank, I don't think Fitz is a bad GM. He's not perfect, but I think he's right more often than he's not. Crowbolt says I'd rather get Tage Thompson than Quinn Hughes coming here. I'm completely in agreement with you. Jack, Buffalo couldn't move on from Tage without quality return. That's a tough one. Yeah, for sure. Jason, no, take all of our picks for Tage and what prospects you want. Devil Heaven, Fitzy is patient, also smart, aggressive when he needs to be. Fitzy is our GM. Hammy. Us old-timers are spoiled with Marty for so long. We can't expect top of the league in goaltending every year until we luck upon another great one. Hopefully Big Mike can be that guy in 2 years. That would be certainly most welcome. Steven says Haminaho, Mercer, Casey, 2 firsts for Tage. I don't even think that gets it done, Steven. I don't think that gets it done at all. I could be wrong, but I don't think it does. Matt says, I agree, Ace. My only thing against Fitz I have is the lack of trades made during the season. 1,000%. The in-season inactivity is certainly frustrating. And, I don't know if it's necessarily what if it's just that, like, not going to make moves in the year, or if the circumstances played into it. I certainly think that the team kind of seemed complacent after Jack went down and they said, oh, we're this is not our year kind of thing. But not getting a goalie during 23-24 certainly infuriated me, because I think we could have at least made the playoffs if we had gotten any decent NHL goalie much sooner than we did on deadline day when we got both Allen and Kakinen. Yeah, people here mentioning Hurdle, Tuck, Tage as trades. Yeah, it's crazy. I agree, Woodson. It is delusional. I can't see any of this stuff happening whatsoever. Ace, join the chat later. Markey and Dougie hurt again. Please tell me no. It seems like Markey's been hurt, if we're being real. But according to they just both didn't practice today. According to Keith, they will both play tomorrow. Markey will just be backing up Allen. Allen's getting the start. Pro Bowl, who would you want to replace Fitz at GM? If Fitz ever left, I've said it multiple times, I think Marty should be the next GM whenever that time comes. If Marty wants the job, you give it to Marty. Jack, known as giving up a top 6 player for picks. I agree. Picks could be a part of it, but they're going to want a roster player or multiple roster players with picks. Because of that very team-friendly deal in place, he would probably get one of the biggest returns, I think, in NHL history. Devil have an ace. What will it take to get O'Reilly? I think a guy like Casey in a first would get it done. Something like that in that realm. Pesci can't come back. Can't get back soon enough. Yeah. He's a beast. Miss him dearly. Dimitri, ace, the Devils will overcome this adversity. The team will heal up. Perhaps a trade that sparks the team is on the horizon. The negative Nancy's can keep whining. They certainly like whining, Dimitri. I will say I don't think there's going to be a major trade. I just don't see it. With the cap crunch and everything, I don't think there is a big splashy trade. I do think we might see a depth piece or two added, like I said the other night or last night, something in the realm of a Cody Glass kind of thing. But for everyone throwing out some of these like huge names, I think it's just more, just fan kind of wishful thinking like people were doing in the summer. Jason said I'd trade Mercer for Tuck. I don't think I would, Snow. Just because you have to pay him $11 million. I mean, or even $10 million. Like, where's that money coming from? I just don't think it's realistic. Here you go. Mercer and Hamilton for Blake Coleman and Morgan Frost. Coleman greater than Mercer. Frost can fill in 2C and 3C when Jack returns. Both add speed. Coleman is definitely not better than Mercer. That is ridiculous. I mean, Coleman's a good player, but he's not better than Mercer. What metric are you using for better? Yeah, Coleman has 8 points this year in 21 games. Mercer has double the amount of points, 16 points in 2 less games, in 19 games. For a team that desperately needs offense, on what planet is Coleman better than Mercer? Tyler, your honest opinion, does Jack play in the Olympics? I'm going to say yes. And by a long shot. Just because the 8 weeks they gave as the timeline is it lines up to be about a month before the Olympics start. So even if they were 2 or 3 weeks off and Jack ends up missing 10 weeks, he would still come back 2 weeks before the Olympics. I just can't see any world where he's not on that team. And so I do think Jack plays no matter what. Jason O'Pally comes off the books and Mercer's 4 comes off the books. Boom, you sign Tuck. Yeah, but you're playing in a hypothetical world where we have no idea of so many other variables. Is Paul Cotter brought back after the season? If so, what is he getting paid? Is Nemitz back? What does he get paid? What is Gritsuk getting paid? I mean, there's just so many things that we're unaware of where it's impossible to play this game at this point in time. Jason said, you send Pally away next year. I don't know who's taking him. I feel like if that was a possibility, it would have already happened. Now maybe you have to sweeten the pot a little bit more or retain on him. I do think it would be much easier to trade him with retention, which obviously we would prefer not to do. To move him without having to retain would be very nice, but that may not be reality. And so there may be a situation where, maybe Fitz retains $2 million of the $6 million to free up $4 million. That it's possible. Jack says, I like Mercer, as do I. Devil Heaven says, no way we deal Mercenator. Devil Heaven Merce, best productive at 4.5. I thought it was just 4 million flat. Maybe it is. I thought it was 4 flat, though. Yeah, it is. 4 million flat. AAV. What a deal. What a deal. Jason, no, I don't think they wanted to move Pally this year. I kind of agree with you. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't even try. M Sharp, we have lots of players going to the Olympics. Yikes. I mean, it happens. It's the price the owners have to pay, or I guess, the league as a whole, the risk of injury. It's unfortunate. It does happen sometimes, but there is no better hockey on the planet than international best on best, the Olympics being the pinnacle of it all. And there is no better marketing for the sport of hockey, in my opinion, than Olympic hockey. It just doesn't get any better. They get more eyeballs on the sport than they ever will in any other scenario. You even saw a small kind of taste of it last year with the incredible Four Nations game. That those clips and everything were going mainstream. It was outside of just hockey culture. It was going into sports and just kind of everyday life. People were talking about that tournament. Beachmaster chances Jack's first game back is the Olympics. 5%. Jack Mercer is stepping up this year so far. Completely agree. He is blossoming into the top 6 guy we all hoped he could be. It's looking like he belongs. He got the shot this season, and he's making the most of it. And I'm proud of our young man, the Iron Man. The Iron Man, always available, always playing. The never injured Dawson Mercer, my friends. Dawson Mercer. Antonino, what would you attach to Palat to remove the full salary a second? Oh, easily. If that's all it would take, if it was solved with the second rounder, sayonara. The time to win is now. To win is now. Jack says any trade people will be asking for Mercer and deal with that contract. I agree. Mario Ace, would you prefer Jack with Grits and Mercer or Jack with Bratt and Dodonov Nason? Probably Jack, Grits, and Mercer. I've told everyone for a while I've wanted to see Dawson and Jack together, at least for a little bit, because they do this at the end of every warm-up. They kind of mess around with each other, setting up one-timers, and it just, you're like, when I watch it, I always thought, could this little chemistry kind of play out in a game? Obviously, it's very different than just doing drills and passing around and messing around, but I just thought they would have a good feel for each other, and in the small sample size, they looked pretty good. We'll be interested to see what they do with the lines when Jack eventually returns and is healthy. Who else is still in the lineup at that point? I'm sure there'll be new injuries prior to Jack coming back, so that could mess everything up. But at full health, I'd be very curious to see a stretch of games with Jack centering Grits and Dawson Mercer. Would be an interesting little run. Jack says Team Canada is not an easy roster to make. Jack, Team USA will be the best roster any USA team has iced. I agree on paper that it will be the best USA hockey team on paper. The question for me is, does it translate to results? In a short tournament, like anything could happen. Anything could happen. It is a scary situation when you get into these, one and done type games. If you run into a hot goalie, that could be the end of your tournament. I hope that USA obviously goes deep. I hope they win the friggin' gold. I've loved international best on best forever. I've talked about it millions of times here. And the sting of the 2002 and 2010 gold medal games still linger, where Canada beat USA. And then we saw a little shade of it. The stakes not nearly as high, but the Four Nations Championship game, even though it was a new tournament and not an Olympic gold, it did still have a lot of implications in terms of, the build up to the Olympics. And so Canada still has our number as of right now. Can the Americans go into Italy? Can they go into Milano and reclaim something back from Team Canada? Devil Heaven, Olympics are priceless. Yes, injuries happen. Also, best experiences for our players. I agree. Frank, Mercer was picked 18th in 2020. He's the 6th most productive player from that draft. He's a steal, not going anywhere. I'm with you. I'm a Mercer guy. I'm a Mercer defender. Jack says Team Canada centers McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, and Bedard. That is absolutely filthy. Wow. Unreal. Jack, Bratt, and Mercer is such a small line. I said I wanted Jack, Grits, and Mercer. Devil Heaven, nothing like players playing for their home flag. Jack, Austin Matthews with Tage Thompson will be interesting to watch play on Team USA. I mean, Team USA is going to have a lot of very talented players. Can they get it done on the big stage? Our players will be revived after Olympic break going in USA. Jack, I would rank Team USA second going into the tournament. Let's bring that gold home, boys. Mario, I wasn't born for the 2010 Golden Goal game, but the Four Nations loss broke my heart. How old are you, Mario? So that makes you what, 14? 14 or younger? Man, I feel super old. The 2010 gold medal game was brutal. So brutal. Yeah, Hokic says Celebrini, also Canadian. Yeah, he's going to make them really, they're going to have decisions. Celebrini's looking like a beast too. Jack says that will be one hell of a gold medal game, Team Canada versus Team USA. I think that's pretty much what the majority of the hockey world is rooting for. I mean, how could you not be? Especially after the Four Nations, given the history prior to the Four Nations tournament even. The 2002 and 2010 Olympics, gold medal games, Team USA versus Team Canada, and then obviously the Four Nations kind of reviving all of it. Should be an absolutely phenomenal tournament, and if that does end up being the gold medal game, it'll certainly be crazy. Devil's Hawk, the news come out about how Hero Jack Hughes saved the old lady yet? No, not yet. Larry, not saying Mercer sucks, but he's highly overrated and still makes the same mistakes as a rookie. Plus, he's not fast or big. Sure, he's going to be a good regular season player, and the playoffs disappear. Larry, I just could not disagree with you anymore. I just couldn't disagree with you anymore. Mercer is certainly not overrated. I don't even think he's highly rated. I don't think he gets the credit he even deserves. The guy plays in all scenarios. Never injured. Nearly a point per game this season. I mean, what more do you want, Larry? 13, okay. Devil's Hawk says, geez, Mario, you make me feel old. Beachmaster, weird that Jack got hurt right after they broke up peanut butter and jelly. Mario, Alex says, how old are you guys? Old people, Mario. Old people. 20s to 60s. 20s to the 60s. Devil Heaven, great trip to Placid last year. Check it off my bucket list. I passed it on the way to Montreal. I do want to go in there and kind of do the whole thing one day. Frank, 1996 World Cup, best hockey I ever saw. Every night an all-star game, but with hitting, never saw anything better. Completely agree, Frank. The USA-Canada final, I mean, the dogs that were on Team USA for that World Cup, I mean, Brett Hull and Madonna and Billy Guerin, Keith Kachuk, John LeClaire. I mean, my God, what a squad. Mike Richter and net, Chelios, Brian Leach, Pat LaFontaine. Oh, my God, Frank, what a team. What a team. That 1996 World Cup USA team that won the gold at that tournament, they have to be arguably one of the best USA teams ever assembled, if not the best, in my opinion. And what a display it was. What are the chances Jack comes back in a month? Non-existent. 0%. Hokic, as a Canadian, the Four Nations was so sweet. I legit thought Team USA was going to win, but Canada pulled out the W. I hate you. I was at that championship game. Shout out to my boy Brian. What a road trip that was, and what a devastating end. Jared, love to stick around longer, but got to call it tonight. Catch you tomorrow on the post game. Let's go Devils. Good night, Jared. Jay Snow, Mercer just doesn't fit at center. He's not a play driver. That's not his game. Well, he's not supposed to be playing center. He's supposed to be on the wing. Jack, that was a great team. Ronick. Codes, I wouldn't trade Mercer unless it was a package for Kachuk. Well, that's not going to be happening. But, yeah, obviously I think everyone would sign off on that. But that's not reality. That is not reality. Devils Holic, how old are you? All you young bucks out here. I missed Rizzo by 1 day in Placid. Rizzo and Jimmy Craig were both there day before. Damn. 32. Okay. You're a lot younger than I am. Mario, I was born as soon as that 2012 series versus the Rangers started. Okay. Oh, my God. Yeah, that really makes me wow. That seems like it was just yesterday in so many ways, but and seems like it was an eternity ago in others. Husky Unchained, what's going on? Let's go Devils. Devil Heaven, not Frank Rizzo. I know who you meant. Ruzioni. I know. Frank, cheers to the 76 people watching on a non-game night. Okay, I didn't. Yeah, but guess that's not too bad, right? My picture is very old. Okay. How old are you in the? Well, let's see. Josephson's there. Oh God. So this picture is what, like 10 years old, 11 years old? You're like 21 in the picture? Calgary beats the Sabres. Chris, I heard Philip Forsberg might be someone we look at in a trade. Thoughts? I think you guys need to stop watching or consuming clickbait. Philip Forsberg ain't coming here. We call this clickbait. Yeah, he's getting paid $8.5 million. Where is that coming from? Clickbait. All of it's clickbait. I get it. People got to push their whatever, but anyone making this kind of money and people are like, oh, the Devils are going to get him. The Devils aren't getting him, guys. Don't buy the propaganda. Husky, if 30s is old, I'm ancient. Zach says, forget Tuck, go after Buffalo's young kid, Zach Benson. That's what I figured. I mean, listen, anything could happen at any time, but given the cap situation, it just seems highly, highly unlikely to me. Double Heaven, hey there, Rubberneck, up there slapping each other. Check Monic, I'm 32 and I can barely take it anymore. Cheers. Cheers to you. Jack Benson is 21 and he looks really good playing on a better team. Well, I think, that's a guy where Buffalo would probably try to build around him or add pieces for that kind of time frame. Tage Thompson's a little bit older, or a good amount older, at 28. In a world where they're moving him, they're definitely not going to move a kid like Benson, but Thompson could potentially be available. I just don't see the Devils being in on him, and I'd imagine Buffalo would try to keep him at all costs. Frank, 63, started out as an Islanders fan. Rocky's moved to NJ, been a Devils fan ever since. Very nice. Very, very nice. Anyone have anything else? I just hope we have a big bounce back performance tomorrow. Got to get back in the win column. Hoping we have to move some pieces to get anyone. Pretty sure we're right near the cap ceiling. Yeah, definitely. That's why I don't think there's going to be any of these significant names. Who are a few guys you'd be interested in, Ace? Ryan O'Reilly is definitely high on my list just because I think he fits the team well. He fits the team well. And $4.5 million for 2 years seems like a pretty safe play. I think that one's some realistic. Benson on a better team like NJ, I think he'd be. They're not going to trade it. You said he's 21. They're not trading him. He was kind of quiet against Carolina last year. Is this still about Mercer? Larry, your argument is terrible. Give it up, man. Don't be one of those people. When someone makes a solid point against your point, just concede. There's nothing you're going to tell me where I'm going to be like, you're right, Dawson Mercer is not good. He's almost a point per game player this year. Do you see any difference? Yeah, I do see a difference, Larry. He's almost a point per game player. What planet are you living on? There is a difference. He's almost a point per game guy. That is a big difference. Looks more like a young Tatar than a young Marchand. All right, Larry, I'm done for tonight. I can't. It looks like a young Tatar. He's nearly a point per game. I don't know what more you want from the guy. You clearly did not like him before the season, and you're one of these people that is sticking with a narrative that is being proven wrong. It's okay. Not everyone's right 100% of the time. I'm not right 100% of the time. No one is. No one is right 100% of the time. You need to abandon your anti-Dawson Mercer sentiment because it's not looking great for that camp right now. Jack, Thompson to the Devils. What does it take? It starts with Bratt or Nico, and if I was Buffalo, I would ask for both as a starting point. But they're 100%. It would take a roster player like Bratt or Nico, probably a great prospect or two, and a couple of first-round picks, probably, would be my guess. Nothing worth doing. You're not getting Thompson without gutting the roster because of that contract in place is just so insanely good. $7.14 million for like 5 or 6 more years. It's crazy. That's crazy, crazy value. Husky, I drool over Thompson's contract. Yeah, every team would, which is the main reason why I don't think Buffalo's ever. It would take so much to get him out of there. What would you give up for Kyrou? For me, outside of, I'm still outside of a crazy guy like a Tage Thompson or something of that caliber. Kyrou's contract is very good too, but let me see. $8.125. I thought it was a little less than that, but he's signed up through 30-31. So that cap hit for that long into the future is going to be nice. I don't know. I would try to offer a ton of futures and prospects personally, but again, I just can't see it happening. $8 million. Where is that coming from? It's just not happening. Taxes Mercer. Kovacevic has trade protection. Salayev, 2 firsts for Thompson. Assuming, I don't even know if they would take that, but Kovacevic has no move clause anyway. Jack, Kyrou would be less than Thompson, definitely, but still would be expensive, I think. I definitely look at Kyrou if he was available. Devils Mets fan, can we buy out Markstrom before his contract starts? Oh, boy. Jack, term is what you want on the player, not a rental. I wouldn't want a pure rental, but I wouldn't mind a guy if the return, if the cost in terms of assets wasn't crazy, a guy like O'Reilly for this year and next. I would take a chance on that. Jack, Kyrou would be lethal on a line with Hughes and Bratt. Just not sure if that would work in tighter playoff games, but Kyrou doesn't get hurt. 82-game player for several years now. Yeah, a little bit of an Iron Man like our boy Dawson Mercer. The dog. What time is it? Oh, man. We better win tomorrow. Better win tomorrow. The Devils aren't buying Markey out. That's crazy talk. All right, folks, that's it. Appreciate you all for coming out. Hit the thumbs up for your boy. Would really appreciate that. What else do I got? If you haven't seen it by now, check out the Stan Fischler interview. Link in the chat. Follow your boy on X. Where is that? Follow me on X and the old Instagrams. I always forget to talk about these things. I've been trying to make it better. There's the X link. Follow me on there. Follow me on Instagram. Link in the chat for both of those. Bang, bang. Mario says, see Ace. Let's go Devils. Jack, Ace, 3-0 Cats, 10 minutes in tomorrow night. What happens? I cry. I cry openly. I openly cry. I can't see it. Jake the Snake's back in between the pipes, baby. Let's go. Jake the Snake Allen, and Jake we trust. We need a big outing out of Jake Allen tomorrow night. But 3-0, 10 minutes in, I'm openly crying. I hope that doesn't happen. All right, guys. But back tomorrow. Lots of things in the works. Poke around on the channel. Check out what some of the other stuff. If you like the interviews, there's the playlist there. There's whatever else tickles your fancy. But that's it. Back tomorrow. Hopefully we are drinking victory drinks and celebrating a big New Jersey Devils victory. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.